To the first meeting of the new trainees of the Risk and Assurance Committee. Start with our karakia. Feel free to join in. Kia whakarea, hang on, right one. Whakataka te hau ki te eru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia ngā kina ki uta, kia mātara tara ki tai, I hei aki ana te atakura, he teo, he hoka, he haho, te hei moriora. Do we have any declarations of interest? I haven't received any today. No matters of urgent business, no public forum. We have an apology from Councillor McChrysty. I have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Kennedy, Mayor Martin. All in favour, against, carried. Item number 1 on the agenda, page 9, the minutes for our meeting on the 9th of October, which was, of course, when we adopted the annual report. We have 2 survivors from that meeting, believe it or not, only in the room today, Councillors Graham and Kennedy, so I will take them as the mover and seconder. Any questions on page 10, page 11, or page 12, very procedural meeting? Councillor Catherwood.
Through you, Chair. Just so we know, I was present at that meeting in the attendance.
Thank you. Right, my report on page 13, and there's 2 items that I've introduced in there. The first one is reviewing the terms of reference, and I appreciate that. During our meeting on the 18th of October, we discussed a number of these things, but for a matter of public record, we'll just go through again in terms of the background to the Risk and Assurance Committee. Meets 6 weekly. Its purpose is to oversee basically 5 areas: risk management, internal control, external accountability, audit, and legislative compliance. And just to deep dive into those a wee bit more in terms of our risk management, the key thing we do there is ensure Council has a comprehensive risk management framework, and we review the approach to developing strategic risk management plans for major projects, and that's going to be a fair part of our discussion at today's meeting. With respect to internal control, we review whether management approach to maintaining an effective internal control is sound. Our external accountability, we review financial statements, ensuring those statements are supported by management sign-off. And again, that will be a matter for wider discussion towards the end of the agenda of today's agenda. We are a forum for communications between management and external auditors, and it's my preference at least once, but more likely twice a year, that we will have committee and auditor only sessions, so that we can discuss any matters of concern or interest, as the case may be. And also we will ensure that the recommendations in the audit management report, which will be appended to the February meeting, 4th of February is our next meeting, that those are in fact being progressed in a suitable manner. And the 5th area is compliance with legislation. And I talked about the mandatory documents register, which I assume you've all put your hand up and have read thoroughly. 98 separate pieces of legislation that refers to, and 17 bylaws. And that's on a daily basis that we are responsible for managing those. Also, during the course of our discussions, we will be considering our risk appetite, receiving and reviewing major project reports, and from those understanding debt management risk and health and safety culture and compliance. We'll also satisfy ourselves that we're getting appropriate and timely information to assist our decision making. So one of the things that we are required to do is to review and advise Council of our satisfaction levels with the terms of reference. We completed the last review about less than 12 months ago. It was, I think, February meeting of 2025. We did make some changes to that, particularly bringing in the capital projects reviews and our major part of the risk and assurance work. As I note in my report, I'm personally satisfied that the current document is fit for purpose for the work that we are required to do and, more importantly, will be required to do going forward. And that'll be complemented by our work program, which we'll talk about shortly. But I'm very interested to hear any views from committee members in terms of the current content, additional things you might like put in the terms of reference, or points of explanation. Or alternatively, if you're satisfied with the terms of reference document as it is, I'm interested to hear those comments as well. So I guess my first question would be the latter. Are we satisfied with what we've got? Would you prefer to wait another meeting just to get the lay of the land, if you like, of the committee and refer to the next meeting? Or if Councillor Kennedy?
Through you, Chair, I think there's a lot of new people around this table. I think it may pay for us to wait till the next meeting, give everybody time to to think about things and to have a look.
I'm comfortable with that. I'm seeing a number of nods. So we will do. So out of that comes a homework exercise between now and the 4th of February. So we will be looking to adopt terms of reference at our meeting on February 4th and advise council of whatever it is that we sign off as the final terms of reference document. On a similar vein, the work program. So I've attached on page 15 of the agenda the current work program for the committee. And the key things for me on that are the risk status report that we do on a regular basis, the capital projects report that we receive each meeting, and making sure that we are complying with audit recommendations, or at least have responded appropriately for those. Again, I asked the questions, are you comfortable with the content? Two things that I've identified that I would like to see added to the work program. The first one is regular reports coming back on the Southern Water Establishment, particularly the impact that that's going to have not only to our urban water schemes, but our rural water schemes, and more particularly our treasury impact. And the second one is potential outcome or impact from new legislation coming out of Wellington that will impact on local government going through. So my suggestion with that is that we, again, put that to one side, do that as a second homework exercise, if we like, after reflections on today's meeting and any other matters of importance or relevance. Does anybody support that view, or you would rather have further discussion on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, after today's conversation, after working through the report, there could be a possibility of other additions to go on the work plan.
100%. I'm expecting that there will be, yes. Councillor McIntyre?
Yeah, through the Chair, just the second thing you suggested about government legislation.
Yep.
Is there something in particular that's concerning you, or is it just a general as things pop up?
Yeah, my report to the last meeting of risk and assurance identified a number of issues that I think as a sector we've probably got concern with. Rate capping would be one, identification of core services and what those core services mean, particularly to rural areas as opposed to urban areas, and what our future role will be going forward in terms of that, and most importantly, the cost of legislative compliance as well. And we are governed, sorry, my final comment, we're governed really by a time frame coming out of Wellington. So in our case, it's just the preparedness to be able to respond.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, would the RMA be part of that?
Yes. And the building legislation.
Because I think it's going to have quite a few impacts.
Yes.
On the shape of the organisation.
Yeah, and I refer to those in that report as well. If you haven't read that report of mine for the, we get the date of the meeting, but it was the last one before the special one. Just go and research that and just have a look through it again and you get some more background to those issues that we're talking about. So if there is no further discussion, I will move my report. Councillor Graham will second. All in favour? Against? Carried. Next item on the agenda, page 16, and we welcome Christina to the microphone.
Thank you.
To lead us through the report.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Apologies for the formatting issues in this report. I had a short time frame to get it done. And also with the new structure in council, I'm keen to know what you do want to see in this report. So I put in quite a few data points for you, but really want to understand what you want to see and how we can report in that. So please let me know at any time. Our SLT hui have begun, and in those meetings we'll start looking at our critical risks and controls. So next week is the next one, and we'll go through managing how we manage threats and abuse. So looking at training, procedures, how we respond, our communication, what we tolerate, when to call police, and what our position is. We aim to complete an internal assessment of our health and safety system this side of Christmas. That's called the WorkSafe Self-Assessment, to understand our maturity and identify our focus points for next year and set some goals. Our last external audit was in 2023. Some of our goals also include our key health and safety policies and procedures to be sorted. So one of my goals is to have those done by the next risk and assurance hui. Location compliance certification is where we get audited to say that our plants are safe to store chemicals. It's a really big piece of work, it's ongoing, but we are making progress there. Happy to take any questions, please.
Thanks, Christina. Questions of Christina? One from me, Christina. You talked about threatening and abusive behaviour, and this is I'm on page 18. I'm reading from the agenda, and there are a number of other items that you've listed. Are these being addressed on a monthly basis, or how frequently are we doing those?
Monthly, yes, at the SLT hui, and we also have the opportunity to review those in our Health and Safety Committee as well.
Yep.
So at the last SLT hui, we looked at working at height, and next week it'll be about threatening and abusive behaviour, and the goal is to have those standards put into a procedure so we can communicate our standards out to staff.
You?
Through the chair, Christina. I'm not too sure on your dashboard. What's the difference between a dry rescue and a wet rescue?
You don't have to get in. So a wet rescue is when you are getting in the pool.
Oh, swimming. Sorry,
Yeah.
I would think the swimming pool.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
dry
sorry.
rescue is when they can just reach them from the side of the pool.
No, that's cool. I understand now with some swimming pool stuff. The other one is I see you've moved the body cam stuff to the CCTV policy. I haven't actually read that one lately, but is any staff wearing those body cams yet?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
Yes,
cool.
so our Freedom Campaign Officer has been trialling the system for over a year now, and it's currently, it's been approved. Oh no, it's with policy at the moment, so we're still looking at how we can, what other teams need to have those cameras as well. But the system works and it's been working.
Christina, tell me about on page 18, we refer to 2 overdue procedures, considerably overdue, internal procedures. What's planned progress to address those?
Every year I put together a work plan. So bringing our policies and procedures up to date will be on that work plan, including what we learn from our WorkSafe self-assessment. So I'll add those as well. But like I said, I aim to have those completed by the next time I report to risk insurance.
Thank you. Other questions? Mayor Martin?
Mr. Chair. Christine, I'm just looking at on page 17, the customer behaviour and down further too in the dashboard, we've got incivility. So that's for the customer behaviour, that's 15 events over the 4 quarters.
Did you do the math?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, each quarter,
so steady. It's steady across. But I suppose what we're seeing is a different level of what's coming through and what staff are experiencing. So staff abuse is not acceptable. And we need to, and that's why we're looking at it next week.
So it's the actual customer behaviour, but it's actually staff abuse.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. And then same as incivility, 4. So there's 19 incidents over the 4 quarters.
The incivility might not relate to customer interaction.
Right, that could be internal.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so if we're looking at the 15 and the customer behaviour, is that a growth, like is that up on the last 4 quarters? Prior to this, like, is it a growing trend?
Well, we are seeing more. I think it's underreported though. So, but what I just said was they're coming through. We're seeing them come through. We're seeing them more frequently, but the level of what's coming through is higher.
Right. So you're comfortable with the processes we've got in place at the moment to manage these, or do we need to be supporting, as governors, supporting you more internally with support? Because it's obviously it's growing, and we all know it's unacceptable.
We definitely need to be thinking about how we communicate when decisions are being made around here, because what the decisions are being made, for example, topics on rates, then the staff hear it. So that's where we could look at how we improve. But am I comfortable with where we're at? I think we need to be putting in more procedures, or giving staff clarity on our expectations and our standards and how much you need to tolerate, and how we will respond when these situations happen. And that's why we're looking at it next week with the SLT. So please give me direction on what our standards are for our staff when we hang up the phone or when we remove ourselves from a situation, what training we need to have in place, and what do we do when we receive complaints? Who manages those, and do we have the procedures in place that support our staff? So we've made really good progress. For example, Sharon's team has just completed a front-facing de-escalation training, and we're looking at our phone call protocols, and the team are working on how to deal with complaints.
Right.
So we're making progress, but it takes time.
So just to delve into that 15 incidents again, is there any way you could categorise it so that it is based around rates, or where the issues are, as for us as governors to know what areas is creating the abuse to the staff? Because we all know as governors it's totally unacceptable to have staff be faced with abuse. So is it by defining it could help us in areas for us to be managing better as governors?
That is possible. Yes, I can categorised.
We don't need to know the detail, we
Yeah.
just need to know what the topic was, it would be good. Because if we're going to be pushing out signals to the relevant communities, it'll be very good information when we're sending those communications back to those communities that it's not acceptable.
Yeah, happy to.
Whoever answers the phone is someone's child at the end of the day, so it doesn't get anyone the right to abuse them. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Graham, then Councillor Cotton.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Christina, like, what areas are these customer behaviour? Is it mainly front desk, or is it building inspectors, or predominantly one or the other, or?
Across the organisation, these reports are from. So, and like I said, I think there is underreporting. So we are getting these phone calls from front of house, the reception, and a lot of the issues are coming from our Three Waters team. So they are copping a lot. They're the ones in the field. They're the ones on the road. They're the ones that are seen. Also, we do see issues being reported from the building control team as well. So it's across. We just need to make sure that our staff know what to do in these situations, that they're ready, and that we support them.
I could imagine there's nothing, if you want to really see a change in personality, is to come across a farmer who's suddenly without water. And on the other hand, I'd imagine there'd be underreporting of I suppose, customer behaviour towards building inspectors, just because of the language that tradies use. But I'd be really concerned if the bulk of this was front desk.
Thank you. Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Christina, just probably a basic question. Do you know if there's the same people? Like every time there's rates, is it the same 3 or 4 people that are bringing up with the same message, I suppose?
Sometimes we have a process in place for that as well, to identify our frequent flyers, and we've implemented a process to support our staff so that these go through to one central person and it's not going to our poor staff. So when those sort of things happen, our system is we flag them and communicate with our front of house.
Christina, it might be appropriate in your next report to analyse the confrontation areas a wee bit more.
Yep.
So that everybody can see where they are,
Yes.
water or front desk or
Yep.
whatever it might be.
Sure, thanks. I've taken a note.
Yeah, through you again, Mr. Chair. Yeah, because there's a definite difference, isn't there? Because if you've got a farmer who's out of water, that behaviour is through frustration, really. Whereas the difference between that and out of anger, we've got to be wary or concerned that people aren't getting abused for the decisions that we make. Like the front desk is likely to get abuse or that sort of behaviour through decisions that elected members have made, whereas farmers out of water are frustrated because of the supply breaking down or something. So it's that one where they're angry because of government's decisions would really, really concern me.
And that's where it's important we have a comms plan in place. So when decisions are made, that comms plan can get out there, it can give the explanation to the right groups of people, making sure that it's there. And also an awareness in that comms plan too, if you have a grievance, we
I mean, Mr. Chairman, you've got to remember that, the rates that went through is the highest rates we've ever done. And we also had the elections, and we know that you put those two together, and there was a whole lot of feelings and emotion out there in the community. And so that isn't sort of a governance decision thing that is able to be managed in that sense. It's just us understanding from a risk perspective, which we did know, because we know these things are happening. We were in a higher risk element or environment, I mean, from those and or any additional things to that, right? So it will be interesting to see, over the next 2 or 3 months and things like that. Since we did have such a positive response to the wind event and our people that were being seen to be, doing extraordinary work amongst others, as to whether that drops off some of that, that sort of category areas, some of that feedback. But then I can assure you that as we work our way through, unless you were to make a decision that says, oh, rates are only going to be 2 or 3% of the setting plan, that you'll be another period of whatever you do, if it's going to be of some increase, there'll be that risk environment that's going to increase as a result. But one element that will be removed from that risk environment is we don't have all the issues associated with elections. So we are very conscious as staff of those risk environments in terms of how things are managed.
Thanks, Dave. Councillor Catherwood.
Through you, Chair. Just going further on from Steve's comments there. Personally, copped a bit of flack locally where I live, and we've got to be very careful. I think the whole organisation needs to be aware that we're going out with, keep messaging the average of our rates rise, which was up around 19, 18%, 16% last time, but then the actual township ended up with a 30% rise. That's a heck of a shock. We're going to 18 on our spreadsheets from last week, but if you look at your individual township, it's actually something like 28. So once you actually, I found when you took actually people aside and broke down where the costs had landed, they were fine. They went from an abusive situation to an accepting situation. We're going to have exactly the same thing coming again when you're going out with a message of 18, and then they're going to open a bill and it's going to be 28 to 30%. So something I think we need to be all aware of. That's actually the reality of a lot of our townships.
Thank you for that. And councillors will recall every meeting I'm going on about the importance of a comms plan, explaining the timeliness, the detail, and the follow-up areas. So must be mindful of that. Right, any other questions? If not, Councillor Catherwood's moving. Seconder is Councillor Harrison. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Christina. Right, capital projects report. Donna and team, page 20, and we will start with. Who are we starting with? John, first one on, page 23, and this is the Balmoral to Opeka rural waterscape.
Good afternoon, everyone. From Opeka Rural Water Scheme, I have the reports in front of you. Just a brief update. So we've managed to put the scheme online and extended it from the water treatment plant to Keynes Road. And we've transitioned the extension of the Greenfield water supply to the existing schemes, Balmoral 2, Waitahuna, Cocosel, Breakneck, and we've also completed the flushing of the Lawrence supply. So that's where we're at the moment.
But John, sorry, you were mentioning that what you were trying to explain is that the area that you're providing water to is not the complete network.
It's not the
That work's still being done to commission the complete network.
Not
Water is
100%
getting to those.
not 100% performance yet. We're still working towards getting 100% performance with the existing old schemes. Yeah. It's correct that, thanks.
So the water's at all the reservoirs now?
Up to Keynes Road, which is Balmoral 1.
Yep. The lower or
Breakneck.
top end?
That's the top end.
Top end, right?
Yeah. Up to Breakneck and Cockle.
You happy?
Never happy, Mr.
It's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Until it's complete, but there is some progress being made.
Yeah, that's great.
on the commission. There's still, work to be done on fully commissioning the existing parts of the network. There are problems being identified and they're being looking to be resolved, and all that. So all that work is still happening as we speak. But some progress has been made in getting water to places.
Yeah, great.
Councillor Cotton.
Yeah, I just would like to make a comment too that obviously the reason that a lot of the scheme was set going, the new scheme, was because we had a catastrophic failure at Evans Flat. So it brought things online a bit quicker, and as Steve said, there's quite a few wee teething problems coming up. Some of them I witnessed myself yesterday, but staff are working quite hard to resolve those. But like the Mayor says, I can't wait till this thing's on stream.
So, John, what I want to know is, are we going to be cutting ribbons and making speeches this side of Christmas?
Not this side of Christmas.
Well, depend. I mean, you can cut a ribbon and make a speech anytime you want, Mr. Chairman.
I was thinking of the Mayor more than me.
But I mean, we're focusing on what can be achieved. We don't think that it's appropriate to guarantee something around Christmas, because if we fail, then we're in trouble. As Councillor Cotton says, they're finding issues and they're looking to resolve issues. We may be turning parts on, we'll be able to turn parts on, so I think the view is it's a progressive achievement of things, and the strategic question will be as to when someone ceremonially does something that's different.
Other questions of John? Councillor McAtamney?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, through the chair, John, two questions. First one's a simple one. So, is the line to the old Balmoral 2 scheme running off the new bore, or is it still from the Watahuna?
At the moment, it's running off the new bore.
Yeah.
But we're still working towards some issues with the old mains. Yeah, working towards remedying all those issues. To supply water to Balmoral 2.
Yeah. And my second question, I see on the bore field, you've written bore 4 off. I knew that they'd been having trouble with the bore a long time ago, but had never heard any more about it. So, okay, so this scheme's fine running on the 2 bores, but if the scheme were to, if another large water user was to join onto the scheme, could the 2 bores supply it, or do we need another bore straight away?
There's work being done as we speak, through you, Mr. Chairman, on that capacity question. It's all part of the same thing as a consequence of the issue with bore 4. There's further capacity related work for it. So we definitely want to be able to, we talk about this, add more into the economics, and they're looking at those capacity questions as a result. So we want to head down that pathway.
If there isn't, but is there sufficient from bore 1 and 2 will supply the current scheme with no issues without an extension? Can the 2 bores supply what we need for the existing scheme?
Currently, yes.
Yeah, no issue.
Definitely.
John, just want to check a couple of dates, and I may have missed them before. Page 24, you talk about the pipeline flushing rescheduled for the 11th of November. Did that happen?
Yep, that's already been completed.
Oh, and the fibre installation scheduled for the 14th of November. That's happened.
So the fibre hasn't been installed yet. We're waiting for the contractor to confirm an actual date, but it seems that we have an issue with the contractor, performing their contractual obligations towards installing the fibre, because they've gone through some financial issues.
So the answer, without giving away a whole lot of stuff that shouldn't be said about a contractor or commercial position, is that no, it hasn't been installed.
Right.
In that sense, we do have retentions, and we are operating in a different mode as a result. So that's an outstanding matter, but it's more around to be addressed through contractual options that we have.
Thank you.
Just a final comment on that. The contractor might have to bring a big change through on a log wrapper with them too, before he can get some of that fibre.
After the storm.
Yeah, that's an aside. Yeah.
The question of that isn't a closed question. We'll be bringing back, the end result and understanding what's going to be happening at another time once we understand ourselves. But we're operating without it.
Just a question through, Mr. Chair, possibly Steve. So Steve, in the past, in instances like this, what has been the normal procedure before it comes to risk and assurance? Like, at what point do we as governors get to find out about these sort of events? You've got an escalation process that you work with internally before it comes to us, or?
Well, I mean, it really depends on, at the moment, we are holding retentions for a particular part of the contract that has not been fully completed or provided, right? So we're dealing with contractual matters on that side of it. Have we got to work around? Yes, because we had to pretty quickly on in the piece for that. So from a risk and assurance perspective, right, I mean, it's not so much a risk-related issue in that sense. It's more about, how do contractual matters get addressed around it. If we are at risk, if it's determined that, let's say, for example, a scenario is for one reason or another, it doesn't proceed, that aspect of the contract doesn't get completed, then we would report that and the reasonings for that aspect, right, and the consequences of it. But at the moment, there's a live situation where there is a responsibility to fix a defect, and we are just working our way through that process.
Other questions, observations, comments? There are none. So John will go to the first of the Milton projects. Page 29 in your agenda, everyone. And the pipeline renewals report, pages 30 and 31.
So that's the Milton Main Street Stormwater and Sewer Pipeline Renewals Project. So we've issued a letter of award for the contractor to implement this project, completed all the tender evaluation, and we've proposed to move the physical works to commence after New Year's, and allow the contractor to work on their construction management plans, insurances, just to avoid any traffic restrictions during the Christmas period through Milton.
Sorry, John, you mean to complete after Christmas as opposed to New Year? sorry, you're right, talking Christmas.
12th of January, yeah. So sorry, John, you said you have awarded a tender.
Yep, we have.
Thank you. Questions I've got. We've got a budget of 2 mil set aside for this project. I look at the risks you've identified on page 33, particularly the first two, encountering contaminated soil and the depth potentially in some cases being lower than 2.5. Are we satisfied with the level of budget? And within that budget, is there a reasonable level of contingency if we were to encounter those two risks particularly?
We've allowed contingency for this project, but with regards to your question, not sure if there's, well, the forecast there.
Yeah, we've, if you recall, we're moving the pipeline.
Yeah.
So we've mitigated that risk significantly because we're leaving that existing pipeline where it is, and we're moving the new pipeline into the berm or the car parking area. So, I mean, without us having drilling into those areas, the risk of the contaminated soil stretching to that far is quite low, but it's still a risk that needs to be.
Yeah.
taken.
And you're satisfied with the budget?
I'm very pleased with the outcome of the tender, absolutely, because if you recall, I was 5 minutes prior to a meeting put on the spot to ask what we thought was a reasonable budget. So I think we did very well there, yeah.
Questions of John? Everyone happy? Duration of the work, John, starting early January or mid-January?
Up to the end of May.
End of May,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the indicative duration
Yeah.
at the moment.
Councillor Graham?
Just through, just on about the contract. So the existing pipeline, we're going to fill that with a slurry or something?
Yep, right.
Yeah.
So it won't, it'll be, yeah, that's good.
Settled, yeah.
Yes, as advised in prior meetings, we have to do that because you mitigate the risk of it slumping.
Okay.
John, you're also a project manager for the streetscape. Do you want to bring us up to date with that one?
Streetscape.
Sorry.
Yep. So construction is underway. Streetscape, focusing on the curb and channel around the State Highway 1 and Grey Street's Shakespeare intersections. Currently waiting for the results of the geotechnical survey for the feature wall that was scoped in the project, and for Stantec to finalize the structural assessment of the wall design. So, yep, we've completed the earthworks and the curbing in the car parking behind the toilet facilities, and we're waiting for sealing the surface. And we've also allowed for some protection around the power net transformers. There's some slight adjustments with mounting of the signs, you know, for that car park, just to save some costs in terms of using the poles instead of just mounting it on the toilet facility wall, which is clearly visible from the car park. And we've also allowed the contractor to continue with the cabling that's required in the parking spots in the plaza. Yeah, so
Thank you.
Welcome any questions?
Questions or observations of John?
One from me.
Councillor Cotton?
Mr. Chairman, through you, when do you expect this project to be finished?
So, as I mentioned, the pending issue with the structural assessment of the proposed wall design. At the moment, Stantec is waiting for the geotechnical survey report. And once they receive that, they will conduct that structural assessment and then provide us with whether to go ahead with the proposed wall design or not. So that's causing a bit of a delay because everything within the park depends on constructing that wall. So once that wall needs to go in first before we started placing all the concrete panels. And so at the moment, we're unsure until we get that. So maybe we're looking at extending the contract further into next year at the moment.
Thank you.
Everyone happy? Councillor Catherwood?
There was so this wall, there was a separate budget for that, is that right? That's what came back to council? What was
Yep.
it?
There was a separate 80,000.
It was 80,000. So if it comes back and it goes outside 10%, is it? Does it come back to us again or?
Yep, that's right.
Right. Everyone comfortable with those explanations? Thank you, John. Mount Cooey. Drew.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm through your chair. Dred, unfortunately, is taking his exams today, so I have to step in and do the report for him. I'm Raymar. I'm the manager for project management. I take that the report has been read, and I'm ready to open for any questions.
Questions of Raymar? One from me, and it's just checking dates again. It says in the report, page 38, the tender evaluation expected to be completed by 15 December. Target award date is 18 December. Construction to start in February. Are we still comfortable with those dates?
Through the chair, yes. We've closed the tender last Friday, 14th of November, and we're on track to have it awarded by mid-December.
And good interest in the tender?
It's still in the evaluation phase, and then I'm not part of the TEC, so I don't know how many have returned.
Okay. Questions, observations, levels of comfort? Happy to all of the above. Let's talk about the Elsie Stewart Community Library then.
Good afternoon, everybody. So just before I start that project, Jules just came and shoulder tapped me, and just to provide some clarity, I suppose, more than anything, for all of these financials that we provide to you, that's not only the physical awarded tender construction work, but it's also professional service costs. It might be consent fees and so on and so forth. So in regards to the Milton Street wastewater stormwater pipe, the budget that we have is actually covering all of those costs, and we're still coming within budget. Rightio, so Elsie Stewart Community Project. So there's been quite a lot of movement going on, as hopefully you've read the report. The asbestos removal at 47 Ajax Street commenced earlier this week. Our contractor did discover that unfortunately vandals have broken into the back of that building and smashed all the windows. Looks like they've used some kind of hammer or something and smashed all the internal walls, which is actually potentially going to be an additional cost to us because the asbestos organisation has had to come in and spend a day clearing and sweeping to then start their work. However, that work is on track. The demolition work will commence as of next week on 47 Ajax Street. Once the library team move to their new temporary facility, then the contractor will move to the library and start demolition after the 1st of December. And then as the Toko Training Centre vacates at this stage by the 15th of December, the contractor will be then able to start. They're actually going to potentially try and start working in there between the Christmas New Year period because they've got a couple of team members that didn't have any annual leave available. So they thought it was a good opportunity for them to jump in there and crack on and get that work done. We're still waiting for the notice of requirement to come through with a final decision. And we are working through the draft contract and letter of intent with the contractor. Any questions?
Thanks, Donna. Everyone happy with the information we've received? And I think if we just put this in context for a minute, this part of the agenda, we've talked about 5 projects which have an investment figure of $55 million, which will impact on investment that council is making into its community, and obviously with that associated debt cost and treasury impact as well. So what we're talking about is not insignificant. It's huge money. And that's the reason that we are receiving and discussing these detailed reports and making sure that we're on track and providing advice or assistance to staff where they require that from us. Right, if there are no further questions, we go back to the recommendation, which is on page 20.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I know you went to category A through D, whatever it was, but there's a few other projects in the actual body of the report. I mean, one of them in particular you have interest in.
Carry on.
So, yeah, it's just that we jumped to the attachments, which were the individual project reports, but then we're...
Sure, so we're talking about project on page 21, yes. And we're talking specifically about the Datascape project and the status. I was actually going to address that when we talked about the financials later on in the meeting, but we will do that now. And I'll ask Sharon to give us an update on where we are with that project, the gains we've had, and potentially some areas of frustration that we've got at the moment. Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess as it says in the report, we've had a few challenges, as you do with the new system going in, and also a brand new system for the providers as well. It's sort of being built as we go, which is proven quite challenging. We're still bedding down some stuff from phase 1, but we're working through those with our internal steering group, and then we have external steering group meetings, and we're gaining some traction at ticking some of those things off, which is really good. So we're starting to look at things for stage 2. Fixed assets have been imported. Debt management and creditor scanning we've actually put to the side because we want to make sure everything else is working properly first. Financial reporting, we've just made some pretty good progress, but do you want to talk about that now?
When we get further down.
Okay. We've made some pretty good progress on that over the last week or so. Yeah, so I guess it's just we are getting there, and we've made some massive progress, and we can do some really cool things, but we're just not as far through as we would have liked to be at this point. But we still have monitoring in place, and an internal group and an external group as well that meet regularly.
And as I said, we'll talk more about the financial reports when we get to that part of the agenda. Steve, do you want to talk a wee bit about local water done well?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, sorry. So just an update on project. Okay, that's cool. So the much progress has been made since the decisions were taken and the water service delivery plan was approved by government. So the immediate actions that have occurred is recruitment's happening as we speak for a program director. That's an essential position to plan and lead the transition planning. and implementation for 1 July 27 start date. So it's a key position for that. That's happening. The 3 chief executives from the 3 councils get on very well, and we're working well together. The 3 mayors from the 3 councils get on well and are working well together. There is recruitment happening as we speak also for the establishment chair, which is necessary to be an important link between the governance of the CCO that will be built up over the next year. But it's essential that you have board leadership in that sense. So that process is happening. The councils will need to approve that recruitment. So whilst the CEs can approve the operational position of the program director, the councils will need to approve the establishment chair. So whilst the mayors are getting involved in the early stages of that process, ultimate approval will have to be by the councils. There'll be a paper for you on the 11th of December, one way or another, that if something isn't available to make a decision on the 11th of December on somebody, you might be needing to delegate to the mayor officially. So you have authority on that side of things in terms of governance. So that's what's coming up in that space. We also have started on what works needs to be done for day one. So all staff of the 3 councils have been getting together and away even today on workstream workshops to identify matters that need to be taken into account to get a successful day one start. So that'll help the program director when they come in around starting operational models and transition planning for the entity. So all that's happening. So a lot of stuff's happening before Christmas, and after Christmas, there's the specific governance work that the councils will need to be workshopping around. So what is the, do you agree with the proposed structures, the voting, or all those sorts of things? Is going to be your decisions, the decisions of the 3 councils. We need to be able to get moving on those, and that'll be early next year. That in one form or another, there needs to be that ability to sit down yourselves and then with the other 3 councils to be able to work your way through, what all those key decisions are around it. The mayors and certainly the chief executives and all the work going behind the scenes can go so far, but we can't make those decisions. And so that has to work through the elected members, and it has to be done pretty early. So that'll come through early next year for you. That's a big part of your job around that. Otherwise, no, it's sort of getting full swing around that, and decisions will need to be taken relatively early around resourcing.
Thanks, Steve. Anybody got any questions of Steve or Sharon? If not, we will go back to the recommendation on page 20 that the capital project report be received. Moved by Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Cotton. All in favour? Carried. Right, we are on to page 48. Greta. Welcome.
Hello. Does anyone have any questions on the protozoal report?
So I guess I've got a question, and it's in respect to the orange boxes. I would imagine a significant number of those are going to be removed when the Balmoral Tuapeka scheme comes on board.
Yep, so Watahuna,
Yeah,
Tuapeka West.
which is my enthusiasm for getting that ribbon cut.
Yeah.
Anybody got a question for Greta? Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Catherwood.
Greta, as somebody's not here, I'll have to pick up mental. What's happening with Mara Flat?
Yep, so there's some work plans similar to along the lines of what we recently undertook at North Bruce.
So when are they thinking of starting that? Because they talked about that when the old council was there.
Yeah, so I think the funding's been approved for it and Corey's working with the contractors at the moment. So our ops team's, currently working on that, hoping to have a lot of that infrastructure sort of at least in place hopefully by Christmas.
Councillor Catherwood, Councillor McAtamaney.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I'm just noting on page 49, must be. So, the wee comments there, like the UV was not maintained required in Lawrence, and then you got Oweka had the chlorine residual. Is that just due to, how does that come about? Like, because they're operated obviously by electricity.
Yep.
And this auto dowsing system, so is there a failure of the equipment of the plant, the pump's still running, or?
So those were a bit of a combination. Those were two obviously separate issues. Lawrence, there was an issue where the UV went down over the weekend and it didn't alarm. So we had operators out there, but it went outside its compliant time. So that was, a mix of equipment and operations. That was remedied on the Sunday afternoon, but we've got such a small time frame to keep that compliance in. And then we had a separate issue at Oweka where the chlorine carry pump ceased, and so it wasn't dosing properly. And then at the same time, so that would have dropped our chlorine residual and it should have turned the plant off. But at the same time, we had our SCADA flatline at 1 milligram per litre. So the plant thought it was running compliantly, and so it didn't let us know essentially over the weekend. And that was sorted out on the Monday morning when we came across it, and that was when the boil water notice was initiated for Oweka. Yeah, but they were still serious events.
Serious events, yeah.
Thanks, Greta. Councillor McAtamaney.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Greta, page 52, there's one plant that's here there, that Whiteley Road on Richardson. That scheme's been pretty good since I've been here as far as compliance. But okay, so there's been a breach, but it was just a comment there about it sounds like about needing increased demand makes it difficult to achieve the required contact time at the site. So to correct that, is that a substantial bit of work, or will it have to be done?
So
what's going on there?
when we had the issues at Whiteley Road, we had the contact tanks installed, and we have a calculation set so that the contact time tanks, once they drop to 30%, they stop supplying the scheme, and that's to maintain that contact time. I was just talking about this with Kieran earlier, and so what we think we need to do is possibly either run our own calculations past Marshall's, who installed that and provided us with the information, or we need to increase that to 35 or 38% or even 40% cut off. But what I actually think's happened here as well is that we have the scheme dry to an extent that chlorine contact time is actually almost working against us. Like that 30% of water in those tanks is possibly dissipating, but that is something that I think won't be too bad for us to sort of narrow down and find the actual issue. It could be just that our calculation that we've put in the system isn't quite perfect, or we might just need to increase the retention.
So basically you're confident it's a fixable.
It would be, I think too, it's just that keeping that supply regular and consistent is what's giving us these issues with these calculations as well. But we'll find out. It looked quite average August, September. It looks a bit better at the moment, so we just need to sort of get to the bottom of it.
Thank you. There was one other question. No? No other questions? Councillor, Mayor Martin.
Through you, Mr. Chair, regarding the ribbon cutting and looking at this ribbons on this report here, it could be appropriate that the water services delivery team to cut the ribbon, because I think they'll be pleased to cut it more than we are.
Save us a bit of reporting.
Right, recommendation on page 48, moved Mayor Martin, seconded Councillor Kennedy. All in favour? Yeah, carried. Thanks, Greta. Page number 56, Trey is going to present this report on Linda's behalf.
Kia ora everyone. Not a whole lot for me on this, so I'll take it as read. One point I wanted to make though is that as a bit of a cost-saving measure, Linda and the team have been working in the background to have a look at the sampling costs. So there's potential thoughts about bringing that in-house. It's not matured too much at the moment, but it's just a bit of ideas. But it's, I suppose, an example of something Linda is looking into at the moment of trying to save a bit of money. But yeah, outside of that, I'm happy to try and field questions.
And who has one of those questions? So starter for Tim. The budget for this is looking at the bottom line of the table train.
Yep.
And you may not know the answer to this. The full year budget is 814 deficit. After one quarter, we're at 730. Are we confident we're not seeing a trend that's going to blow that 814 up?
Yeah, personally, I can't answer that, but I can bring that back to Linda to ask.
Yeah, and maybe if she could
Yeah.
include that in her report to the February meeting, that would be appreciated. Other questions? If not, Councillor Frost, are you happy to move?
Yep.
Councillor Cotton seconded. All in favour? Carried. Trey's still with us on page 59, API exception report.
Right. So I suppose a wee bit of background about this report. In the past, I used to bring back every single KPI at council, which wasn't particularly the best type of reporting. So now we just focus on those KPIs that we haven't passed for a given quarter. But just as a bit of background regarding previous year's results, I've put in the results out of our annual report between pages, what would that be, 66 and 76. So that's just a bit of context on that's everything we report on at council, whereas this report, yeah, it's just the stuff that's failed. So for a few of the cases, I had in there that I'll give you an update verbally. So for all of those, I do now have a bit of an explanation and some remedial action. So for the clarity, the explanation there was dirty water complaints in Milton Township responsible for the majority of those. So we're aware of those and yeah, we're aware of the issue and retic there. So Linda said that we're currently working through the pricing of the remedial works renewals and renewals also planned. Flushing's been programmed, but there's a wee bit more work to undertake there. Regarding the median response time for resolution of urban water, that's jobs that come in as minor and escalate to more time-consuming fix. Yeah, and there's just a bit of an issue between the data taken in by the contractor. So the team's just working on that to try and make sure we're getting the most accurate data possible. So remedial action there is contractor continue to upskill their staff. They've got a new app, so as they use that going forward, they'll get a wee bit better at it. So hopefully we have more accurate data. With the stormwater personnel to reach the site, we tend to only get a lot of stormwater requests during heavy rainfall, and when that happens, there's a lot of staff trying to do a lot of things at once, so the times for those can tend to be a bit higher than we'd like. And so what we're trying to do there is potentially an increase to the KPI and the LTP, something a bit more fair, I suppose. And an updated process for allocating wet weather event status. So potentially if we get a whole lot in a weather event, have a bit of a status on there that we don't necessarily have to go out and do it right away. We've got to assess the most important things that are occurring. And then lastly, the building team contact. The main issue there is just there's a really big really big workload for the staff at the time. There was quite a few staff out with ACC and on leave and whatnot. So yeah, with those staff returning to work, that contact should be improved. So outside of that, I'm happy to take questions.
Mayor Martin?
Through you, Chair. Trey, regarding the Building and Regulatory Services Department, so I just see in the explanations there, like unexpected sick leave and stuff, So by engaging contractors, so obviously we're paying our staff that are off on sick leave, but then we're also engaging contractors, so we're paying for the contractors. So what sort of a cost escalation is that burdening the organisation?
There's going to be a cost escalation or increase in the regulatory this year. That'll be explained through Mr. Chairman. It's one of the things in the workshops that we'll be highlighting. As you are quite right that if you've got significant numbers of the staff on sick leave, you're still paying. And if you have to bring in contractors to meet your regulatory requirements, and don't forget we had to do that to meet the IANS things as well. That was thrown on top we have to achieve. You don't have a choice, but to achieve those things, you had to bring in a whole lot of contractors. So it will be a pressure on the regulatory department in terms of their total budgets, what happens this year as a result.
Will we see a reflection of that with the report on the overspend in the budget?
You'll see a reflection of that, and when you're talking about the financial matters, Mr. Chairman, and you're describing the issues associated with that, it will be more visible. I mean, I'm just telling you, I think the chairman asked me at one point, how do you control things? Well, because you have an understanding of the organisation. So we're highlighting that even without financial reports, we can say we fully expect there to be expenditure above, like over the budgets in that activity for those reasons. And then we'll look at it, what it means as we work our way through that side of it, and we're looking at how we might be able to solve the matters. But at the end of the day, you can't do anything if you've got majority of your staff off on sick leave, and you've still got to do the work, because they will take away accreditation just like that if we don't meet our requirements. We don't actually have a choice in those areas, for example.
Yeah.
Same as the water. Same as, like if we've got to do this, we've got to do that for regulatory as well. But yes, I would fully expect that to be seen the extent to what that is when those reports become visible.
I'm sure it'll be visible if we've got a counter contract involved. Another question through you, Mr. Chair. Internal services trade explanation. There's not a clearly defined definition of what a callback is, so some staff are not sure what is required of them. So if they don't know, who does?
So the internal services, that's everyone at council, so that's every individual team. And my understanding is each individual team have like some guidance, but it's not necessarily consistent across the whole org. So some teams think that they need to be reporting this way, some teams a different way. So it's more just standardising and make sure all of those teams know the same expectation. And yeah, that's a bit of work that we have to do, but yeah. And having talked to a few of the teams, it sounds that's what's happening, that everyone thinks they're doing all right, but not necessarily like they're doing all right to what they've been told to do, but not necessarily what someone else has been told. So yeah.
Do you think that could have a reflection going back to Christina's report with some of the frustration that people are experiencing? Like, do you think that could be a part of the
Yeah, it may well be. I couldn't say personally, but I wouldn't be surprised.
If we're to look like a well-oiled piece of machinery, we need everyone on the same page. So I'd be really, really emphasising that we get it right.
Yep. No, I can make sure I talk to the teams and find out what that expectation is.
For us to help support them, yeah, it'd be good to know that they all know what the expectation is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, there's a recommendation on page 59. Mover is Councillor Cotton, seconded Councillor Harrison. All in favour? And carried. Page number 77. Trey.
Yep, we'll give this one a go as well. So yeah, this is just a report on our current debt or external debt to the LGFA. A bit of a follow-on from last week's workshop is just in the that bottom table on page 78 is just our cost of funds at the moment. So as you can see, there's a bit of a difference from when we started in June 2020 with 1.87%. We're now at 4.07. You'll see that there's two columns there. It's because midway through, what was that, September 24, our consultants had a bit of a change of methodology with how they apply their calculations. So what you can see in that right-hand column is a bit more accurate and represents when our actual debt's coming up rather than just rolling on a monthly basis. But outside of that, happy to take questions.
Trey, just remind everybody, what's the average debt cost in our annual plan?
In our annual plan, I believe it was 5.25.
It's more than 4.07. Yeah, oh, that's good. Questions?
Oh, no, it was 5.2, 4.1 in the AP. Sorry, that was a LTP number, so 4.1.
Thank you. Councillor Makatamine's moved. Seconder.
I was asking a question.
Yeah, I could hear his teeth grinding.
Do you want to give us that question first?
No, that's right. No, it was over that number.
Thank you. Councillor Cotton seconded. All in favour? Trey, you want to do this one as well, don't you?
Yeah, this will be the last one for me.
Page 79, everybody.
So just a few points I'd like to make is on page 83, you'll see the headroom there for 34.22 mil. I suppose you can look at headroom a few different ways. The way that our Bancorp consultants look at it is just how much money do we have liquid if we need it in a week. So that's just our NICO account, NICO account, our cash on hand and credit line we have with the bank. Whereas if you're thinking of total headroom we have and borrowings we can make, that's a bit of a different number. So from my calcs this morning, we've got about 82 mil of that. Although we're not planning on borrowing 82 million, we just have that available if need be. And then on page 84, it's just, another follow on from last week's meeting is you can see the split of types of borrowings we have there, as well as the policy with how we plan to have our fixed rate borrowings. Yes, no, that's it from me. So happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions of Trey?
Just through you, Mr. Chair. Trey, I see down the NICO's gone and MOVA. Has that just happened, has it?
Yes, I believe they've just changed their name.
Same, still the same?
Yes, it's the same people. The same, we've got the same account with them. So I think it's just a name change. Potentially some changes in their corporate structure or whatnot, but I don't expect that would affect us at all.
So for the benefit of new councillors, we include this detailed report every quarter to provide further information on how the portfolio is made up. Questions, observations, mover?
So moved.
Councillor Cotton, seconded Councillor Catherwood. All in favour?
Aye.
Thanks, Trey. Appreciate that. Right, page 102, financial reports. And I'm going to get Sharon just to talk about the status of the financial reports. We acknowledge that there are some hiccups that we've got changing systems, which have caused a delay in the preparation of financial reports, which give us the confidence to be able to manage the way that we do. I've had a number of conversations with Sharon and Steve over the last probably 3 weeks or so, isn't it? And they're fairly clear in my expectations of when the reports will be due or will be presented. But I've just asked Sharon to give us some more background at this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we've had a few challenges with our new system going in and being able to get data out of it, and we've been working quite hard internally and with the external people to organise some dedicated time to get that, to accomplish that. So there's been sort of lack of resources in all sort of areas, but we've done a bit of quite a bit of talking to them, and we've got two ways to report. One is the example reports I've put in this here to look at the type of things that we're going to be able to get out of the system once it's working. And then we can also report out of our budgeting system. The data's going to go both ways. So these reports here come from our normal operating system, and they're not quite there yet. They're partially mapped, but they're not quite checked. And we still have some data cutover issues to deal with our opening balances in our balance sheet before and then we need to check them to make sure we're happy. So we have some time set aside on Monday. The boys are going to be spending some time with the Datascape people to do that, and then we'll go forward from Monday, and if we need more time, we schedule more time. And the aim is to get reports out before Christmas, and so that's one system. The other system, we spent some time with our budgeting system yesterday about getting the integration of the budgets, and that was a really positive meeting. They're away doing some work with our mapping, and we are going to be meeting once a week to talk about the progress of that and where it gets to. They're pretty confident that we can get reporting out of our budgeting system with our actuals against it quite quickly. So that's really positive. So yeah, I think since we wrote this, we've actually made quite a lot of progress, and I'm feeling a lot more confident that we will be able to get reports out before Christmas. So yeah, any questions on that? Or these were just examples of the kind of things that come out that we have started mapping already. We just haven't got the budgets in, and we haven't checked it. And
So we've actually got no real figures since July, really.
Correct.
We don't know where we're at. We don't really know since July.
Okay, yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Can I ask the question then? Could someone have not gone back to something old-fashioned, like revenue and expenditure on Excel? Or could we not have had a snapshot?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did do that for the water reports only, and that's because for our revenue and expense, potentially we could have, but our opening position for our balance sheet's not correct, and we also have had a few transactions come in from subsystems that aren't processing correctly and have put our bank out, but that is the final check on that is Monday, so that should be fixed Monday as well. There's been a few internal things, and I think it's better to be confident that the data you're looking at is correct than to give you something that may not be.
So I have experience, Councillor Catherwood.
So have we got enough resource at our end? Like, is it, you know what I mean? Like, that question is, are you struggling? Are we struggling? Or is it the provider that's more so struggling? It's not talking to each other?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's been a bit of a journey, but we will be okay, I believe, and Trey can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think we have enough staff, but we've just had a bit of a challenging time of it lately as well. Like, we've had the annual report to get out the door. We put this new thing in. We had a wind event in the middle of that. We were all in this room for like 20 days or something. But we've had a few issues engaging our provider to come back after go live. Like, I guess it's new to them. It's the first time for them too, and it's like, okay, we've done all this really good stuff, like we have, but we just haven't got that final part done that we need to look at. And it's just it's been a bit of a process engaging them, but we've got them on board, Steve, now, haven't we? They're gonna, sort of, I think they thought we could do more than we can, but we don't know how to map the report, so you have to show us how to do that sort of thing. It's that phase 2 stuff that I don't think they understood the importance of how quickly we needed the phase 2. Like, reporting was phase 2, but we need reporting. We're 5 months into a year with no reporting.
Sorry, just to help also add to answer the question.
Yeah.
Sharon probably won't in that aspect of it, because the team just does, extraordinary things with what they've got. So when I put the restructure in, so I did a restructure, we created a new structure. We identified we had a real weakness around project reporting, financial reporting in that sense. And so we identified we needed to get another resource in at that particular time. Those things don't happen in 2 seconds, unfortunately, because you can identify it and then we still haven't got somebody in yet, but it's about to be recruited for. So there was a gap already identified in that sort of space. That's the first thing. Second thing, I think what we've also identified is that the team and putting the hours they're putting in to do the thing is only as much as they've got there, and they're doing that fantastically. But when you see the evidence that says actually they can't take leave and haven't done for the last couple of years, it sort of says, well, actually that's not working, right? So we absolutely need to put, to your question, we've identified we do need to put more resources in, and that some decisions have been taken. Assisted by part of this is that not getting the financial things up and having our people being able to have all the time that they needed to direct, and focus on that issue. We haven't been able to do that amongst all the other issues that we're also still doing as a result. So that's really highlighted that the current way that we've sort of structured the team is not sustainable, and we need to make some changes, positive changes, and that's in conjunction with the team and to support the team. So we are going to need to put some additional resources in, and we are moving to do that, because it's not sustainable what we've actually seen for the poor old team that's working their backsides off.
So then is this new system more efficient that we've spent all this money on?
Sharon will say that in combination with other parts of things, like the budgeting system and that, there are some far superior things that we have, right? There is some things that we are not seeing the benefit of because we've had failures in terms of that transition implementation, in terms of how long it's taken. And obviously part of that is we were first in line for strategic reasons, and we're paying the penalty for being first in line. And so there's some issues associated with that from the product and the support of the company.
So just remind everybody why we did change. It was because of the demise of the previous one.
Yeah, so Datacom, the company, was replacing their existing system, and you had no choice unless you were going to go off Datacom to do something different, right? You had a choice as to when you would be transitioning, and there was a cost associated with when you transition. And the cheapest cost option for this small council for something as big as that was going first. But we are paying the price in other ways of going first, not the least of which is the issues around financial reporting, which is essential, but also there are other more fundamental aspects of product that isn't actually ready yet. Some things, the regulatory services are struggling in that space too in some areas. So those are the things that are happening behind the scenes in terms of where we are with things. But through all that, we've also identified, in answer to your question, yes, we do need to put some more resources in, and yes, we are going to do that. Well, we are doing that.
So it's going to be more efficient. We need more resources. So then the last question would be so the annual report, end of last financial year, that's our last stop of true and correct financial figures that we sit on right now.
Yep,
okay.
that's correct.
So to come to you, now being a councillor, being given a delegated portfolio, is to leave you alone because you're under enough pressure as it is.
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, we're going to meet before Christmas, I hope.
Yeah, but I don't want to put any more pressure on.
Yeah.
I'd rather that we as an organisation know where we stand financially.
I think that would be
Day to day.
appreciated by staff, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought.
But also, we do exercise controls, right? So,
Yeah, of course
so
you
we
do.
go and see this, and there are still
Yeah.
controls. Like we knew where our pain points were last year. You know, the waste accounts were over. The Three Waters accounts were over. You know, those are under intense scrutiny around what's actually happening with things, and in particular, Three Waters, as you say, we're actually doing that manual work to be able to get some information around that side of it. Remuneration, which can be a real weakness in terms of control. We were under in terms of those budgets last time. We have got vacancies still around bits and pieces. So the expectations and understanding of how that works is that we're not overspending in that space at this particular point. So that's under control too. So there are those aspects, that project-related side of things. Ever since, you know, we identified the issues associated with the Balmoral Tuapeka side of things. You know, the team have been looking a lot more carefully around the budget, so that those financials, whilst a lot of manual work is being done by the team, they are still exercising control over those projects and things like that. So we're also looking to make changes in terms of what we're delivering this year anyway in capital. So we're looking to reduce costs there. So we haven't got the detail that you would expect. We've got an overall view of an understanding of our business and what we need to focus on in terms of what were the pain points for over expenditure, what we're looking at. But yes, we absolutely need that visual.
So then probably a question directed to you, then Steve, back on 57 there. We're forecasting a deficit of 814 on our Three Waters. We're at 739. So you're comfortable with that type of scenario? That's obviously those figures have obviously come directly from that department. Is that right?
So no, the issue isn't so much the forecast, which was what budget approved, because that's a budget approved forecast deficit. It's just keeping an eye on, well, where is it currently sitting? I think that the chair was saying, hey, it's sitting at 500 at the moment. What does that mean? But, you know, there are still, as the report mentions, there's still aspects of work to be, what do they say, capitalised or other bits and pieces in that sense. So we're not entirely, so it wouldn't be correct to sort of go, oh, we need to multiply that by 3, and this is what we're going to end up with versus the deficit. We're doing further work around that side of things. And, you know, the 6-month point should be a good one to be able to say, well, now we believe we know where we're sitting with that.
Mr Mayor, and then Councillor McTamaney.
Through you, Mr Chair, possibly just with Sharon and Simon and Dave, I'm sure a batch of hot cheese and cheese scones would be well appreciated with the finance team, and actually engage before Christmas and take that offer of Sharon's just to press the flesh, and so she can start thinking on what you guys are thinking in the terms of information that you'd be requiring, but it's obvious that she won't be able to provide it. Yeah, a meat in the flesh with some hot scone would probably be a great gesture for the finance team. But through you, Mr Chair, so does this, which obviously the finance team can't win a marathon for running in shambles. Do we need to be actually giving them more support now? Is there external providers that can actually, I've seen what the finance have been doing through the weather event and to try and achieve what we need to achieve on top of that in the recovery period we're going through. Do we need to be engaging some external support for them now so we can kick the channels off and get some bloody proper shoes on and get the information we need, so desperately need? Is it something that we need to be bringing back to council on the 11th to say, we need help? We've fleshed it out. This is what it's going to cost so we can get on with it and get our running shoes on. Is the question?
Look, my standard advice to any leader, if they're offered something, you don't turn it down. So I'm certainly happy to bring forward something on the 11th if we have a look at it. Some of the issues, though, around contractual support as to the ability to slot into something, and as opposed to taking the time to have to train them and things like that, which will be counterproductive to things, right? We need to measure that against the progress on the recruitment. So we are recruiting for the financial support, which is what we believe will be the actual solution we need. But it's definitely we won't not accept the offer to look at it and bring something to the 11th, having looked at what those options might be.
Yeah, okay. So once again, there's one report on page 106, and it's a cash flow example. That one there has period ending 30th of September, whereas the other reports were 30th of November. Is there some accuracy in that one, or is that again?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't guarantee accuracy in any of them. That one says September because I couldn't change the date.
It's more for format.
It's just showing you what it might look like.
Yeah.
They're just a little too immature to
Yep.
there's a drop down box, but I couldn't change the date.
So I want to ask the question then, on a cash flow basis. So we did have a cash flow budget, which would have been outside of the other system, I imagine, at the end of the year. We did an annual plan, would have been cash flow. You'll have an actual cash balance now. So cash flow wise, are we tracking where we should have been at this point in November as a council? Are we close?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did the annual plan, but we didn't budget. We didn't cash flow the 12 months. But
Monthly.
Yeah, monthly. We didn't cash flow monthly. But in saying that, when these two systems integrate, the budgeting system has the ability to go in and reforecast for the year and report against the actuals, really. But we do have cash in the bank.
Councillor Frost.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So data scope is called, isn't it? Correct. So you were talking about phase 2 and being enabling the reporting side, but how far away do you think that is? That data scope will have that available for you to use?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have set the target as we need reports before Christmas. And so the challenge now is for them to find the time to slot us in to get our work done. But we have our first meeting with them on Monday, and we'll go from there.
First scheduled
time to spend time with them.
Solve the problem.
Are they physically coming in?
No. Virtual.
I would have thought it would have been in their best interest to help you implement it.
Correct.
So that, from other council's point of view, looking, they can say it's successful at Cleveland, the implementation has been reasonably smooth, but it doesn't fill other councils with confidence if you're struggling and they're not really providing the support to try and get it up and running as soon as possible.
It's the sales pitch you're looking for, isn't it? Come out of that.
Well, I mean, I would always hesitate in public to criticise necessarily. There's always two sides to a thing, and when you start talking about potential loss of revenue or competition or market things like that, public statements we have to be a little bit careful what our public statements might be. So you won't get this council, for example, publicly having a go at a contractor without having gone through a particular process.
So the expectation is that we will receive something pre-Christmas. The expectation is that we will continue to provide support for staff to allow them to work through this very, very busy period of time. And on the 11th, I'm sure, speaking on Steve's behalf, that any offer of assistance will be very welcome for a period of time.
Sorry, once again, Mr. Chair, might have to go back a wee bit in time then. So, and also with what other councils are doing. So, we needed to review. We went down the own path of Datascape designing our own scheme because it was going to be cheaper to do a bespoke one than to buy one off the shelf. similar, there must be other councils with these systems.
No, so, did you want to answer that? I mean, I can do that. I can have a go and we can share it. No, so it's not quite like that, sorry, Mr. Chairman. So, the product that we had up to July 25 was a Datacom product that was called Ozone. That had its challenges and other things, particularly around budgeting and other bits and pieces, until we got another beautiful little product over the top of that that Sharon really loved. But Datacom, which is the company, advised that they were moving to a next generation application or product, and that is the one called Datascape that they'd been developing. And we have no choice but to go to that product. It's just a matter of when we're going to go to that product and how much it's going to cost us, unless we decided to move away from Datacom altogether and look at a total new enterprise system and go through the procurement process for that. So up to that, we had been pretty well supported, and that. So this was, a natural extension. There's been a lot of work done on what the product was going to be and things like that. It was strategically decided at the time that we would be the first council to go.
And through you, Mr. Chair, further to that, it actually is out of the box. It is an out of the box solution. That parts of it just aren't as mature as they could have been, like the financial reporting wasn't mapped yet. So they provided us with what they think should be account structure, and we mapped our old one to that as much as we could. And so there's things getting built as we go. The regulatory that Steve talked about before, that was only built good enough to try on the 16th of June, and we went live 1 July. So of course they're still experiencing problems. It's getting built as we go, but it is going to be the off-the-shelf solution.
Yeah, what I was sort of alluding to is 60-something other district councils. Some of them must have already had some pretty good stuff, or do they own all the IP? Or are we going to be streets ahead?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there is other products out there. There's quite a lot of councils. There were some that did go live before us, but they were regionals, so that's not really comparable. And there's quite a lot that are looking to go live 1 July 27 with this product. But then there is also Civica, Magic, Authority. There are other products out there.
So are they looking after us? Are they playing ball? Like, obviously, honestly, like, is it frustrating, or is it you're confident? Or?
It's absolutely frustrating, but I think it's frustrating for them too. Not knowing the unknown as you go. So it's very frustrating. But you can feel their frustration too when you're talking to them. So, I can totally see it'll be an amazing product when it's going. I can totally see that. It's just that it's not going.
You'll be pleased you're not in the air, building wings.
Out of the frustration will come benefit. I think that's the thing we continue to reassure ourselves with. I'm confident in my conversations that I've had both with Sharon and Steve that they're all over where we need to be. I understand the governance frustration of this, but also are aware of the time frame that we're working to and how that's going. So any support is appreciated.
I think we also need to just bear in mind that these ERPs at councils, to transition to them, they're multi-million-dollar IT projects now. I mean, the newspapers will tell you how many millions we're talking about for these projects, right? We have not been in that space that has cost us that. With all the frustrations we've got and all that, the end result was we didn't have to add, another millions of dollars onto our IT project, IT budgets for this that otherwise we would have done. So it was a specific saving. Our IT spend compared to others in this sort of space is hugely less than that as a result of this, but we are on the receiving end of this sort of stuff as a result, right? So you're balancing it up. We could have gone off the shelf, somebody else, and I can tell you the budget we would have been putting through would be 2, 3, 4 times more than we're currently got, and we'd be asking you to fund them. So I think we have to bear that in mind that it's going to be a very good product. Datacom is a massive organisation, right? So they'll support this side of it. We'll get that moving. We are the beneficiary in dollar terms of this strategy.
Thanks, Dave. Right, do we have a mover for the report? Councillor Frost, seconded Councillor Graham. All in favour? Yes, carried. And we have one more item, which is also Sharon, on page 112, just to give us an update, Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is with my other hat on as recovery manager from the recent weather event. So I just thought you might kind of like to hear a bit about what's been happening, because just because we all bailed out of this room, things haven't stopped. So we've drafted a recovery action plan. Well, actually Jay has, because that's his wheelhouse, not mine. And so that is currently just sitting, getting reviewed. We're getting updates all the time about where we're at with like our roads and PowerNet. I haven't actually heard from them recently, but I've asked. But what I believe that like our roads are all clear. We've got trees on the side of the road that are going to take quite a bit of time to get rid of. We currently still have 3 parks closed because they're deemed unsafe, and other parks that still need to have arborists in and clean things up. And of course, we still have lots of road signs down if you've had a look around. And our water, I was going to get Greta to give you a bit of an update, but Jules might know there's boil water notices across a lot of our schemes, but everything is running, but still being fixed as they find things. Would that be correct?
Well, we've been progressively lifting boil water notices as we've been able to, so there's still a couple more on, but they are for the precautionary boil water notices that relate to data and quality assurance rather than being significantly concerned about the quality of the water. We just don't have the information to prove it. So there's just a few of those left to come off.
Thank you. And PowerNet, we're going around and fixing the Band-Aids, I suppose, because as part of the event, they had to put a lot of Band-Aids on to get power up and running. So now they've got to go back and take them off and put the permanent fixes on. So that's going to be quite a body of work for them as well. So that is still a risk that something could go wrong with our power network. What else have we been doing? I have twice weekly catch-ups with MPI and the Rural Support Trust to talk about the issues facing our farmers, because that was our biggest hit a lot of people, and the issues are obviously trees, fences and water lines, but now they're starting to come up with issues around cropping and stuff that they can't get to. People are wanting to do weaning or tailing and they've got no fences. Those kind of issues are popping up, but I think there's a few farmers in the room that can probably help me out with that.
Get on with it.
And so they're looking at ways to help with some of those efforts, and to also look at, there's an extension group that's meeting tomorrow in Mosgiel to look at how to help some people get more resilience into their setups. Like an obvious one would be making sure that dairy farmers have a place to plug a generator in and don't need to bring the electrician, that kind of thing. So it's looking at sort of resilience going forward. So that's sort of been happening. We've also been looking into some funding. Cosmos and Donna's team has been talking to MFE about funding around certain aspects of our waste that we have. I don't know if you have an update on that, Donna.
No, we're still waiting on the maintenance contract to give us final
Quantities,
volumes to be put a case forward.
Yeah, so we're looking at that stuff, and also we've had Mia Martin, myself and Anna have had a meeting with DIA, and they've given us some ideas which we asked for a bit more clarification on, which I see some actually came through last night, they haven't got back to you yet. So there's potential support for us in that field. and what else? And we had, well, Jules and Steve and Gav, the other controller, I popped in for a wee bit, had a debrief with Targo Sedum, was it, Jules? Yeah, about the event and all the people that they sent down to support us, because we had really good support coming from all across the district. And they actually thought we did very, very well, which is great. And they had a big shout out for Mayor Jock. I reckon he did an epic job. He was here 2 minutes and front faced it and got a lot of FaceTime out there with like social media and stuff, and keep people really well informed. Like our communities, once they got social media back, were really well informed. So they thought that was a really nice thing to have done. They thought the communication was really good as well from PowerNet and from council. So I think that's it from me. I just thought you might want to have an update on where we're at.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Any questions from anybody or observations? Me and that. Councillor Cotton. Were you stretching?
Yeah, no. I was thinking of smoker.
Not far away. It's not far away. Councillor Cotton.
Today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for me, I just want to back up a few of the things you said there. I think the Mayor did do a great job, and I think the whole team really did. But there's a few things for me. Obviously, the recovery is going to take quite a wee while, and probably when that's done, there needs to be a bit of a review. I know, speaking from where I was sitting, there were a few people took things upon themselves to make things happen, which was really good, but there was no real definite plan around civil defence and how things should proceed there. So some of us went, right, let's take control and let's do it, which was great. But then there was a little bit of uncertainty around some of those things. And I'm getting calls from my community about, so when do we review this and what are the learnings going to be out of this? And the message I've been giving them is something will happen here first and that will filter down, and then we can sit around a table and chew the fat around those things.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that was something that was discussed today as well, Jules, wasn't it, about the community response plans?
Yes.
That haven't been revisited in some time.
And some communities don't have them, and this is probably.
And that has come up loud and clear.
It may well be required for communities that didn't think they needed them in the past. So yeah, that'll be, we have our own internal review coming up as well, and there'll be a lot of things that'll come out of that.
Yeah, like I'm thinking on the positive side, it's which is really good. I think the way the community reacted, and you're talking about water pipes and that being down, the way farmers reacted to that has been pretty good. And then, of course, there's been a few failures since then that testing patients, I should put. So just teething problems really, but they'll be resolved. So I think the community appreciated the communication and the work that was done here, without a doubt.
Yeah, through the chair, just Sharon, just one thing, you made a comment that it's great, the ones coming from the district coming in, we just got to bear in mind, and it's not a criticism, Clutha was the only one that had an issue, Queenstown, Alex, Dunedin didn't. And we had a lot of people, when I seen in here, from other civil defence coming in. You're not going to get them in a major event when it's bottom. We were just lucky it was Clutha and Southland.
Through you, Mr. Chair, totally agree. They didn't have anything go wrong, so they could afford to give us the help. But I would have to say, though, having those people in the room and the knowledge you gain from them and the things you learn from them, totally worth it. Like, it was fabulous. You just learned so much.
I just think there's a wee bit much.
That is their job.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a
They live and breathe
BAU
it.
job. That is their job.
Yeah, people do jump from far and wide.
They do if they're available, but that's what I'm just saying is they're not always going to be available. And unfortunately, some people are structuring it that I'll just bring heaps of people in. Through my knowledge in Nelson, we had everybody in New Zealand in there, and that was a wee fire, and it was just one place. So just something to bear in mind.
Councillor Kennedy.
Just want to thank your whole team, everyone that was here. That was fantastic, the job that you did. And you've all left your own families behind too. Although someone come here for a shower, I know. Or this poor family didn't have one. But yeah, pass it on right down the line, Sharon. We do appreciate what went on, and we know it's took a big toll on a lot of people, and you haven't had catch-up time yet. But yeah, just to let everyone know that we do appreciate what was done.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for that. That we will be having an internal debrief as well, so that can be passed on then. And I have to say, I also had a shower there.
And also left your family behind, did you?
And also left the family behind.
It was a win-win.
Thank you for that and for those comments. Recommendation moved by councillor Kennedy, seconded by councillor Cotton. All in favour? Now, we will break shortly for morning tea, break for afternoon tea.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just before you get on to the next bit there, just thinking out loud for our next risk and assurance meeting, which is early next year, should we be organising, going back to the major projects, would there be the appetite, do you think, in the room that we, as risk and assurance, we go and have a look at some of these projects?
I would thoroughly recommend that be the case.
We're just thinking like we have risk and assurance at 1, so maybe in the morning we get a bus and we go and have a look at them, you know, so we know what we're dealing with, these major projects.
So what I wanted to do was focus on that meeting. So 4th of February is the date of that meeting. Suggestion would be that we start at 9 or 9:30, and during the course of the morning, I remember in the capital projects report, I identified $55 million worth of projects out there that are involved, and we're really good to get eyesight on these on that morning. And then move into the meeting in the afternoon. The meeting is going to focus on 4 or 5 things: financials, project reports, terms of reference, work program, and content of reports. So the financials we've talked about, project reports. Terms of reference, that's homework exercise number 1. Do you like what you see? Have you got something else you want to put in there? Work program is on page, can't remember the number, 15 or 16. And then the reports themselves. So you've had the benefit of the agenda for the last few days. You read through the reports, you've heard the discussion today. You've got probably a lot more questions circulating than even when you came into the room. So ask yourself, what did you like reading in the reports? What would you have liked to see that's not there? And what did you read that you thought, do I really need to know that? So that we can actually think about those. So those 3 questions, I'm going to send a prompting email to everybody over the next few days, just to remind you of those things. And do come back to me so that I can then talk to staff who are preparing these. And even if you've got nothing to contribute other than just testing the link to say hello, just do that. But so those questions will be heading in your direction.
Mr. Chairman, generally speaking, risk and assurance doesn't get their own day into next year. So any day you have a meeting, it's generally tied up with another meeting as well. So
sure. I
think what you'll find is that anything you want to do in that respect of doing visits need to be booked outside that, which we can do. Or we do that as a revised district tour aspect, which is still to be booked as well. So we've got a district tour book to be organising, which is usually 2 separate days, and that.
So council is also on the 4th of February. Yep. We'll arrange something. Might be the 3rd of February in the afternoon or something like that. But I think it's important that we do go and get eyes on these projects at the start of the year. I think the opportunities there also, you'll be about to launch into conversation on contents for the draft annual plan. So there might be some other activities or projects that you have a look at. So we will find a date. Right, I anticipate that we're probably going to be about another 30 minutes. Do we want to break for tea? We are going to do that, yep. So Councillor Kennedy's moved that, Councillor Harrison has seconded that we move into public excluded. All in favour? Aye. And we will reconvene in 15 minutes. Cool.